We're joined now by one of Mr. Trump's attorneys, Joe Tacopina. Mr. Tacopina, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Savannah.
Well, now we've seen the indictment. We've seen the evidence that the prosecutor has assembled, or at least some of it. What was your first reaction to it? What was the former president's reaction?
Well, I mean, where are the underlying charges? I mean, the indictment actually did not list what these underlying charges are. Understand, Savannah, these false business record entries, which are not even false, are misdemeanor counts, which would not be able to be brought at this point. The statute of limitations is long gone. The only way to make this a felony is to cobble together a couple of misdemeanors, the false business records and the attempt to cover up another crime. But the indictment doesn't even list what the other crime is. So it was a little disappointing, a little bit of a relief, quite frankly, to see that indictment. But, you know, we're ready to move.
The DA said we have had available to this office additional evidence that was not in the office's possession prior to my time here. So he's talking about some new evidence. Are you aware of what that might be?
There's no new evidence. That's spin. I'd like to hear him articulate what that is, but there is no new evidence. I've read the statement of facts. It's exactly what we talked about. It's exactly what the United States Department of Justice, the federal prosecutors in Manhattan, turned down years ago. It's exactly what the FEC, the Federal Election Committee, had said. There is no FEC violation here. It's exactly what Cy Vance, the former prosecutor in that office, turned down 3 years ago. There's no new evidence. This is just rehashing a zombie case.
The FEC, by the way, just to be fair, took no action because it was paralyzed, essentially. Two Democratic commissioners wanted to move forward. Two Republicans didn't.
Well,
they were at an impasse, were they not?
Savannah?
I mean, it's not. It's not. They didn't weigh in on the merits.
No, they were not. Well, no, they actually did. The chairman, Bradley Smith, has been on every news outlet saying there is no FEC violation. Let me say this to you. The FEC, for this to be a federal election law violation, what has to happen is the payment had to be made because it was done with personal funds, not like John Edwards or Hillary Clinton's campaign issue. This was done with personal funds. For it to be a violation of federal campaign law, it had to be done irrespective. The payment would have had to be made irrespective of the campaign. If the payment was made irrespective of the campaign, there's no FEC violation.
Well, let me ask you about that.
This is not done exclusively for the campaign.
Yeah, because you're saying, I understand the argument. You're saying, look, this can't be essentially a campaign contribution because he wanted to make this payment to make this story go away for his own reasons, right? Maybe so Melania doesn't find out or something like that. If that's the case, here's the thing that I've always wondered about this case. If this is all on the up and up, why did he pay Michael Cohen back in installments pursuant to a retainer agreement for legal services that prosecutors say did not exist?
Michael Cohen invoiced him in installments. He invoiced him. He upped it from $130,000 to $400,000+.
Yeah,
so
but with the knowledge of like the Trump organization and the CFO, and I mean, it's like if it's all up and up, why doesn't he just write a check and be done with it?
He did write a check. He wrote several checks. That's how payments are made. It was a massive amount of money for a lawyer, $410,000, especially a lawyer who doesn't really do anything. And he wound up making those payments in installments. Savannah, that is not even alleged to be a crime or a problem. If he wanted to cover this up, he could have paid in cash, as Michael Cohen once suggested on a recording, which Donald Trump said, absolutely not. We need a record of this. Listen, the fact of the matter is.
And just to be clear, I'm just curious about this. Donald Trump acknowledges authorizing these payments. That is not a fact in dispute in this case.
Of course, he eventually authorized the payments. What he also acknowledges that he didn't know about the settlement before he found out about it at a later point. Understand this. Michael Cohen arranged that with Stormy Daniels' attorney. Michael Cohen took out a home equity loan to finance the settlement, and he signed the settlement agreement. Michael Cohen. Donald Trump's name is not on that settlement agreement.
Let me ask you this. The judge, he said, I'm not going to issue a gag order. He said, nothing even close to it. But then he said, I would encourage counsel on both sides. People, please speak to your witnesses. Not for you. Defense counsel, speak to your client, Donald Trump, and anybody else you need to, and remind them to refrain from making comments or engaging in conduct that, among other things, has the potential to jeopardize the safety or well-being of any individuals. Did you tell your client, did you do what the judge asked you to do and advise him to knock it off?
President Trump heard the judge. He's not done anything to try to incite violence. Clearly, yesterday was an insane scene outside, but there was no violence. He didn't call for violence. He didn't call for anything. Well, so there was that. And the reason the judge didn't admonish him or post a gag order, because he didn't do anything that would have incited violence. That's the key, inciting violence, not protesting. Protesting is what we did in this country. You know, that Boston Tea Party thing? That's fine, as long as there's no violence to it. And he didn't incite violence.
I'm reading it. it's a very particular, because last night Trump, again, after he heard these words, he talks about the Trump-hating judge, mentions the judge's wife and sister, goes after the prosecutor. The judge said anything that could jeopardize the safety or well-being of any individuals. I mean, Donald Trump knows his followers are devout.
Savannah, can you take those words and say that jeopardized the welfare or safety of an individual? He's stating a fact that was written in the Daily Mail, the largest online publication in the world, where they uncovered the fact that some of the judge's family members work for Vice President Harris. I mean, that's a relevant fact here. It's not an attack on the judge or certainly his family. No one is suggesting that anything should happen to the judge or his family. And President Trump's comments did not in any way, shape, or form incite violence against the judge or anyone else. He stated a fact.
As a lawyer, I mean, this works for him politically. They've raised boatloads of cash, okay? It's in the short term at least. Would it be better for his legal case, you're his lawyer, if he stopped criticizing the judge and the judge's family? Do you wish, like, if you could wave a magic wand, that he wouldn't do that?
Savannah, I am laser focused on the case, like you just said, the legal case. I am not his PR consultant. I'm not his social media consultant. And when I took this case on to represent the president, I knew who the president was. He's someone who is vocal. He speaks his mind. Sometimes there's no filter. It's direct. But that's him. That's his methodology and his style. And it got him into the White House. So it's not for me to tell him how to act. Of course, he's going to comply with the judge's rulings and the law. And he has, by the way. That's why the judge didn't come close to it giving a gag order yesterday or even admonishing him. But I understand what you're saying, but there's no issue here. Yesterday was actually an incredibly peaceful day, insane but peaceful, and that was thanks to the Secret Service, NYPD, Dennis Quirk's Court Officers Union. They were amazing. So it was really for a day that was insane. It was pretty smooth.
Final quick question: yes or no? If you can, do you feel that you can get a fair jury in Manhattan?
I feel that we're not going to get to a jury, Savannah. After seeing that indictment and knowing what the law is regarding federal election campaigns, I don't think we're getting close to a jury. I think this case is going to fall on its merits, on legal challenges, well before we get to a jury. If we get to a jury, I think any person, whether they're on the right or politically opposed to Donald Trump or in favor of him, is going to see this for what it is. It's weaponization of the legal system. It's something that this country never did before and hopefully will never do again.
Joe Tacopina, always good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Savannah.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.